The heavy clang of the prison gates reverberates, a foreboding welcome into a world of confinement and consequence. As the soundscape settles, we hear the hushed whispers of distant conversations mixed with the shuffle of worn shoes against cold concrete. One by one, the inmates introduce themselves, their voices tinged with vulnerability and resilience. Lenny, a seasoned lifer, speaks softly of a life that once brimmed with promise but took a catastrophic turn. Maya, still fresh from the streets at just 19, expresses both wide-eyed wonder and palpable fear in her new reality. Ezra shares his poetic musings, hinting at the beauty he strives to find amidst despair. Carla, the devoted mother, conveys the ache of separation from her children. Rashid, a former academic, offers profound thoughts on justice and humanity. Their stories set the emotional tone for the journey ahead, revealing the complexities of lives forever changed behind these walls. Lenny takes a deep breath, the familiar chill of the prison air wrapping around him like a heavy blanket. He thinks back to a time when life was vibrant and full of promise. As he reflects on his past, he recalls moments spent with family at the lake, laughter ringing out in the sun. But that all changed in a split second due to a reckless choice, a decision born of passion that ultimately cost him everything. In his diary entries, Lenny grieves the loved ones he lost, sharing how time has morphed into an unyielding companion. He expresses his regrets, but also the lessons learned through years of solitude. The clanging of metal serves as a reminder of his confinement. Yet amid despair, Lenny finds solace in the bonds formed with fellow inmates. As he pens down his thoughts, he feels a flicker of hope, a testament to resilience that keeps his spirit alive. Maya sits on her cot, the harsh fluorescent lights casting long shadows across the cell. Her heart still races from the moment they first locked her in. At just 19, she feels swallowed by the towering walls of her new reality. "It's like a bad dream from which I can't wake," she begins, her voice trembling yet resolute. The echoes of laughter and whispers fill the air, a stark contrast to her isolation. She recalls her first day, the overwhelming stares, the clanking of metal doors, and the anxious knot in her stomach. But amidst the fear, she discovers unexpected friendships. The veterans take her under their wings, sharing stories that range from gut-wrenching to hilariously absurd. With each day, she learns to navigate the prison's unspoken rules, weaving moments of hope through her uncertainty. "I may be locked in here," Maya reflects, "but my spirit is still free." Ezra's days in prison blur together, each a canvas painted with his struggles and aspirations. He often escapes the harshness of his surroundings through poetry, a passion he nurtured long before incarceration. "Words are my only freedom here," he reflects, recounting stolen moments where he scribbles verses on scraps of paper, the rhythm of his thoughts echoing in the cold, gray walls. He shares one poignant poem about longing and loss, capturing the bittersweet essence of his confinement. His fellow inmates listen intently, recognizing their shared pain woven into his lines. Poetry becomes a bridge, connecting them in an otherwise isolating world. Ezra laments how theft, the crime that brought him here, led him to discover a deeper self. "In these verses," he says, "I find not just escape, but also hope." As he reads aloud, the heavy atmosphere lightens momentarily, revealing the resilience that thrives within, even behind bars. Carla glances out the small, barred window in her cell, the world outside a distant memory. She recalls the laughter of her children, their innocent faces full of joy before her life took a downward spiral into fraud. Each day feels like a weight on her heart as she grapples with the pain of separation. In her entries, she pours out her longing for her kids, sharing how each phone call offers both comfort and heartache. Through a women's support group formed within the prison, she discovers a shared experience among fellow mothers, each with their own tales of loss and regret. Together, they embrace vulnerability, exchanging stories that cultivate a community of strength. It is through these bonds that Carla finds solace, a flicker of hope igniting within her as she thinks of their future reunions, transforming her grief into a collective journey toward healing and forgiveness. Rashid settled into a quiet corner of the yard, the distant sounds of other inmates fading into a backdrop as he prepared to share his reflections. "I once believed in the power of ideas," he began, his voice steady. "But now, as I sit behind these walls, I question everything." His thoughts meandered through the complexities of society, the disparities that led to his imprisonment for political activism. Conversations with fellow inmates often revolved around systemic injustice, each dialogue peeling back layers of shared frustrations and dreams for a fairer world. Why do some of us pay the price for speaking out, while others walk free? Rashid pondered aloud, spurring an earnest discussion among those nearby. They debated responsibility, freedom, and the true meaning of justice, binding together with intellectual fervor. In this oppressive environment, those exchanges became lifelines, igniting a fire in Rashid's heart and urging his mind to soar beyond the confines of their reality. The daily rhythms of prison life set a stark backdrop for each inmate's experience, intertwining their individual narratives into a shared reality. Morning brings the sound of slamming doors, echoing through the corridors as inmates shuffle towards the cafeteria. Lenny recalls his morning rituals: coffee brewed in a makeshift cup, a brief handshake with familiar faces, and shared jokes that mitigate the bleakness. Maya, still adjusting, observes the routines around her, fascinated yet intimidated by the established hierarchies. Ezra, pen in hand, captures these fleeting moments in verses, finding beauty even in mundane interactions. Carla gathers with her fellow mothers during yard time, exchanging laughter over memories of their children, laughter that cuts through the oppressive air. Rashid quietly engages in philosophical debates, pondering how these everyday struggles reflect larger societal issues. Amidst humor and hardship, they navigate the delicate balance of survival, forging connections that remind them of their shared humanity. The atmosphere within the prison walls is a patchwork of camaraderie and conflict, where bonds are forged in the unlikeliest of circumstances. Inmates navigate a labyrinth of relationships, each interaction a blend of vulnerability and strength. Lenny reflects on his friendships with younger inmates like Maya, recalling how their laughter momentarily lightens the heavy air. Meanwhile, Ezra shares poetry that echoes their struggles and triumphs, reminding them that, even here, creativity can flourish. Carla recounts a tense confrontation that turned into an unexpected reconciliation, illustrating the transformative power of forgiveness. Rashid emphasizes the importance of solidarity, noting that enemies can become allies in the pursuit of a shared humanity. These complex dynamics illustrate how relationships become lifelines, providing emotional support and a sense of belonging in an environment designed to isolate. As they navigate the highs and lows, these inmates discover that even in despair, connection offers a glimmer of hope, pulling them through each day. Tension ripples through the prison as whispers of a riot circulate. Lenny feels a familiar chill run down his spine, recalling past unrest. The air is thick with uncertainty as Maya's youthful bravado falters, her voice trembling as she contemplates the chaos ahead. Rashid discusses the deeper issues at play with his fellow inmates, how their frustrations stem from years of systemic neglect and injustice. As the sun sets, the atmosphere shifts, hope collides with fear. Suddenly, the sound of metal clanging echoes, igniting the riot. Inmates rush from their cells, voices rising in a cacophony of anger and desperation. Ezra's heart races as he captures the moment in poetry, channeling emotion into words amidst the chaos. Each inmate faces their personal demons, grappling with choices that could define their futures. The imminent clash sharpens their senses, binding them in a shared moment of uncertainty and defiance against the confines of their existence. The atmosphere was electric with tension as the whispers of revolt escalated into a cacophony. Lenny stood near the common area, heart racing, eyes darting among the gathered inmates. "This isn't how it should be," he murmured, recalling how a single impulsive act had led to his own lifelong imprisonment. Maya, typically bright-eyed and wide-eyed, felt the shadow of fear swallow her youthful optimism. "What if we can't stop it?" she wondered aloud, anxiety creeping into her voice. As the riot erupted, chaos ensued. Metal clanged, and echoes of shouting reverberated off the cold walls. Ezra found himself sheltering against the wall, reciting verses to calm his racing heart. Words of despair, mingling with hope, cut through the turmoil. Rashid's thoughts raced, pondering whether this violence would bring them unity or division. In that moment, each inmate confronted their demons, igniting a primal bond that transcended their pasts, each struggling to survive as one. The riot left a heavy silence in its aftermath. each inmate grappling with their experiences of fear, chaos, and unexpected camaraderie. Lenny reflected on the raw vulnerability they had all shared during the turmoil, while Maya expressed her confusion about the violence, recognizing it as a misguided cry for change. As they banded together to assess the damage, Ezra found solace in writing, crafting a new poem that encapsulated their collective turmoil. Carla sat with Rashid, discussing how the riot muddied their hopes for reform, but also sparked a collective realization: they were more than their crimes. With the prison's usual routines disrupted, discussions turned toward what it meant to be united in their struggles. They pondered the possibility of initiating a reform program, ignited by the raw humanity they glimpsed during the chaos. This newfound desire for connection began to weave its way into their daily lives, slowly shifting the atmosphere within the prison walls. As the dust settled from the chaos of the riot, a profound shift began to take root within the prison walls. Lenny, Maya, Ezra, Carla, and Rashid came together, fueled by a newfound sense of purpose. They initiated an inmate-led reform program, which aimed not only to address their immediate needs for safety, but also to foster an environment where change was possible. Day by day, they organized workshops on conflict resolution, literacy, and emotional health, transforming their shared trauma into motivation for growth. Lenny found fulfillment in mentoring younger inmates, while Maya discovered her leadership potential, rallying others around the cause. Ezra used his poetry to weave their stories into a collective narrative of resilience, while Carla and Rashid engaged in discussions about societal responsibility and justice reform. Together, they were not just surviving, they were rewriting their destinies, embodying a spirit of hope that extended far beyond the confines of their surroundings. The atmosphere within the prison began to shift as inmates gathered for the newly formed support group, a space dedicated to mental health and emotional resilience. Encouragement filled the room as Lenny, Maya, Ezra, Carla, and Rashid shared their struggles, fears, and moments of vulnerability. Through heartfelt discussions, they forged deeper connections, recognizing the universal weight of their experiences. Maya reflected on how sharing her journey helped her confront the shadows of her past, while Ezra found solace in composing poetry that captured their collective pain and hope. Carla emphasized the importance of community and how, despite their confinement, they could support one another's growth. As sessions progressed, laughter mingled with tears, creating a tapestry of shared humanity. This bond not only provided comfort, but also ignited a spark of ambition within them. They dared to envision a future beyond bars, laying the groundwork for a new chapter, one marked by understanding, compassion, and the possibility of redemption.